What's going on, guys? Your boy Amazing here. We're back with another video, and in today's video, guys, we're going to be going over the top 5 must invest units for your account on Grand Cross for fast progression and just to do well in the game. If you guys enjoy videos like this, definitely make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And with that out of the way, man, let's hop in and let's talk the number 5 character on the list. Alright guys, starting with the number 5 character on the list, we're going to be going here with the Messenger of Love, Queen Diane. Now, the reason why I think this is the number 5 most recommended to must invest for a free-to-play player, and even just someone that has not built this character already, let's talk about exactly what she's able to do and why she's such a strong character to begin with. This video is sponsored by Marvel Strikeforce. Marvel Strikeforce is a dynamic squad-based RPG that brings the Marvel Universe to life, where players assemble powerful teams of Marvel heroes and villains to battle iconic enemies in epic combat with endless team combinations and strategic gameplay. As someone who plays and enjoys turn-based combat, I think you guys will love Marvel Strikeforce, and I definitely recommend giving it a try. Make sure to use my link in the description or scan my QR code to get Agatha Harkness and a bunch of other free characters only this month. Alright, let's talk about what we can expect from Marvel Strikeforce and how you can progress your account fast. Your goal is to power up your favorite characters and complete missions, unlock gear, and other resources to beat other players in PvP combat with modes such as Alliance War and Arena. You can recruit tons of heroes and villains all across the multiverse, including some of the fan favorites such as Iron Man, Wolverine, and Venom. As a new player starting Marvel Strikeforce, you can unlock up to 17 total free characters within the first 30 days, including Spider-Man, Deadpool, Thor, and Captain America, just to name a few. New characters are constantly being released, and this month be on the lookout for the highly anticipated Blade and his team of Night Stalkers. You can unlock other characters and costumes from Marvel movies, TV shows, comics, and more. But that's not all. To celebrate the spooky season, players can redeem the promo code Halloween to get their free 100 shards for Zombie Iron Man, 600k gold, and 480 L2 training modules. Don't forget to use my link in the description or scan my QR code to download and play Marvel Strikeforce. Thank you to Marvel Strikeforce for sponsoring this video, and I look forward to seeing you guys there. If we go to our unique passive here, guys, Shy Confession, it's actually going to apply Symbol of Love on the hero at the start of the battle, and while assuming a stance, the hero's HP-related stats are increased by 20%, and when the hero's stance is removed, allies' critical defense is increased by 30% for 2 turns. And in addition, when the hero uses a skill in PvE content, allies' attack-related stats are increased by 10% for 2 turns. Now, the Symbol of Love effect is going to be increasing allies' basic stats by 3% for each ally that takes damage from an enemy skill up to 10 times. So as you guys can see from the passive right here, there is a lot of stuff going on that Diane is providing as a supportive effect for the team. You can see the Symbol of Love that she's applying that. Symbol of Love obviously giving you 3% basic stats each time you take damage pretty much. And this goes for any of your allies taking damage as well. If anyone on the team takes damage, you are getting that basic stat boost. And it stacks up to 30% basic stats, which goes over your attack, defense, and your HP. Not to mention as well, guys, that she's also providing 10% attack related stats in PvE content, which is very, very important for content like the Demon King, where you do want to have an attack related stat buff so you don't get your cards completely removed. And then also as well as that, she actually does gain HP related stats when assuming a stance, which as you guys know, she does have a stance skill. And also whenever it is removed, because that's just naturally going to happen, or if an enemy is playing with a cancel stance character, you actually get a critical defense increase as well, so that you're even more tankier. And the fact that this is provided to all allies as well, guys, regardless of whether they like whatever characteristic or whatever race they are, this is such a very, very strong passive in my opinion. And just in general, being able to give any character 30% basic stats, 10% attack related, and even 30% critical defense is super, super strong in my opinion. Now, another thing to mention too, guys, is her skills here. So her first skill is just going to be pure single target. So this is not a very strong skill at that. It's just going to be 200, 300, 500% of attack with ×3 pierce rate increase. And then moving on to her second skill here, guys, it's going to be the taunt that I mentioned that was from her passive as well, that she does gain HP related for. In the taunt, it's actually going to assume a stance which taunts enemies and decreases damage taken by 40% when attacked for 2 turns, and the taunt directs all attacks to self. So pretty much all the damage that is going to be dealt on our team is going to be directed towards Diane, so that no one else on the team is taking as much damage. And you guys can see here that the scaling on this is pretty good as well. So it goes from 40% to 50% and applies gauge reduction as they attack into it. And then is also going to go up to 60% and 2 gauge reduction, which is very, very strong. And then moving on to her Holy Relic here, guys, which is something that is not a necessary thing for this character, but definitely helps as well for her supportive abilities, which is going to increase allies' damage dealt by 30% for 2 turns when the hero assumes a stance. And that obviously is going to be happening as this is a taunt character where you're going to put up the stance so that you get the, the damage dealt, you get the HP related, you get the damage reduction. A lot of things that Diana is doing is going to be for supporting the team and drawing damage away, and I think that is a very, very valuable Holy Relic. Now moving on to her ultimate here, guys, this is going to be Queen's Embrace, and this is at the 5 out of 6 dupe level of the ultimate moves. So it's going to be inflict quell damage equal to 532% of attack on all enemies, and then heal HP of allies by 20% of the damage dealt. And as you guys can see, quell is going to be damage dealt plus 35% per active stance on self, and that's only going to be at the 5 to 6 dupe level, and this obviously does scale up. But the thing that the way this pretty much works is that with this skill right here, you're actually getting 2 buffs. You're getting a damage taken reduction buff, and then you're also getting a taunt buff. So that means 2 buffs from this, and that actually means that for this ultimate, you're getting 35 times 2 because it's per active stance on self. So yeah, guys, Diana's just a super insane character. In terms of content you're going to be able to use this character in, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but Demon King Battle, that's endgame content nowadays in the game. Very, very strong for that, as you can run her on a 7 Deadly Sins team. You can run her on a giant team, I guess. You could run her on a pretty much any team, really, if you're just trying to get free basic stats. Again, she's providing that attack related. You can run her on all Demonic Beast battles except Ratatoskr. That's the only one that I feel like she just is not good in. But pretty much every other Demonic Beast, she's going to be a staple on those fights. And then in PvP content, I don't think she's like a very, very good PvP character, but it's definitely an option. And again, like stacking up that 30% basic stats, even in the lower tier of PvP, will still be useful for your team. And I think that is valuable just to have in building this character in general. Alright guys, now moving on to the number 4 must invest for free-to-play players, in my opinion, is going to be Vampire Gelda. Now the reason why I actually think this character is super insane and a must invest for you guys that are playing Grand Cross is because she's a very absurd character in that she's going to be a really strong damage dealer while also supporting the team. Now, if we actually go to her passive right here, Undying Love, it's going to apply Fierce Lifesteal to the hero at the start of the battle, then Breath of Regeneration for 5 turns. Increases basic stats of demon allies by 30% of the hero's regeneration rate up to 20%, and the hero is given the additional race of demon. In addition, the hero recovers 10% of max HP, and their damage taken decreases by 10% up to 50% at the start of the ally's turn. And then for Fierce Lifesteal, the hero gains up to 400,000 additional HP based on demon allies' lifesteal amount from enemies, and this is going to exclude counter stand skills as well. And then the Breath of Regeneration is going to be immune to recovery related stat restrictions, which means that you cannot infect this character. This character is not going to be able to be infected for the first 5 turns because of Breath of Regeneration. Now, the reason why this is such a strong passive, guys, is because you're not only, benefiting a lot from the demon allies, whenever they lifesteal, you're getting HP, which is going to be very important to the way that this character works. But not only that, you're also giving your demon allies basic stats based on a regeneration rate up to 20%. So as you guys can see right here, her recovery rate is actually 128%, which means that if we go back to her passive here, we are getting 30% of 128%, which is going to equal to that 20% because it's only 30% of it, and it goes up to 20 because we already have more than 20 from the 30% of the 120 that I got on my Gelda. We're going to be able to get the full basic stat increase. Now, on top of that, guys, another thing that this character is able to do is recover max HP at the start of their turn and also decrease damage taken up to 50%. And this both stacks, the max HP heal and also the damage taken. So this goes up to 50 and this also goes up to 50. So you get both of those things stacking up to 50%. And every start of turn, you're just getting a pretty much full heal, as max HP is based on the total amount of max HP you have to full heal off of taking hits. So yeah, that's pretty much her passive right there, guys. But let's talk about why this increase of HP is that strong for this character. If we actually go to her skills here, Dust to Dust is her first skill, inflicts damage equal to 25% of the hero's max HP on one enemy, and lifesteals 30% of the damage dealt. Lifesteal is going to heal for a portion of the damage dealt, and as you guys can see, the hero's max HP is what the damage is scaling off of. So the higher the max HP of Gelda, the more damage she's actually dealing, and that is why she's able to build up an extra 400,000 HP for this character to deal absurd amounts of damage. And then her second skill here is going to be based based on her remaining HP, so inflicts damage equal to 20% of the hero's remaining HP on all enemies. And again, guys, the scaling for both of these skills are going to be very, very strong. With the fact that she's getting a ton of HP, I mean, both of those skills are going to be doing absurd amounts of damage. And then moving on to her ultimate here, guys, Vermilion Blossom, and this is at the 4 to 6 dupe level in the ultimate. It's going to increase the hero's HP related stats by 20% for 2 turns, then inflicts damage equal to 80% of the hero's max HP on one enemy. So you're not only doing 80% of max HP on one enemy at the 4 to 6 dupe level, you're also gaining HP related stats before it happens so that you boost your damage, because this is scaling off your max HP. So yeah, guys, Gelda's just an absurd character in the game. You pretty much can run her in all content in the game as well. I feel like the only thing you're probably not able to run this character in is probably just going to be Ratatosker, but I think every other content in the game, you know, Demon King, Demonic Beast, PvP, even Heroes Arena, you're going to be able to run this character in pretty much anything in the game and be successful, which is really strong. And that is why I'm going to give Gelda the number 4 spot on the must invest list. Alrighty, guys, now moving on to the number 3 must invest character in my opinion. I'm actually going to give it to the UR Eternal Son Esper, the Indomitable. This character is absolutely insane, and let's actually talk about why he's able to be so strong and what he's actually doing for your team. Alright, guys, so one thing to take into account with Escanor is that he actually has a grace. Now, not many characters have graces in Grand Cross, but mainly only goddess characters. But again, remember, Escanor is using the Grace of Sunshine to do damage, and as you can see from this grace, it's going to increase the hero's max HP and critical defense by 10%. So this is going to be more of a defensive grace, but it still is valuable. And remember that you can run this on literally any character as a link as well if you're not running Escanor on field. Now, moving on to his passive here, guys, the Only Sun applies Burning Sun on the hero at the start of the battle, and for one turn the hero does not take more than 50% of max HP as damage from skills during the enemy's turn. So off the rip, 50% damage cap. You cannot take more than 50% damage. If the hero dies, allies gain Burning Sun for 3 turns as well. And in addition, all of the hero's stats are increased by 5% for each applicable ally participating in the battle, and the hero's attack related stats are increased by 20% for each applicable ally that dies. And the hero is always immune to stat decrease effects, meaning that Escanor can never be stat lowered even from base. Whereas if you guys know the original ultimate Escanor that was in the game, he actually could be lowered back to his base stat that he had, but this Escanor literally cannot be stat lowered at all. Just absolutely absurd. Now moving on to the Burning Sun here, guys, inflicts additional damage equal to 40% of the target's increased max HP when using a single target attack. And the applicable allies are going to be humans and the 7 Deadly Sins characters. Now, the reason why this passive is so strong, guys, is because not only is Escanor going to be a very strong damage dealer on the team, because if you look at his kit here, he's actually getting a ton of all stats based on each applicable ally on the battlefield. You can run him alongside the human characters or the 7 Deadly Sins, which are both really strong races and characteristics in the game. And another thing too is that when he does die, you actually do give Burning Sun to your allies, which means that they're going to be able to do a increased single target damage against enemies that do have max HP increase. And remember, we just talked about Gelda. Gelda is one of those characters that Escanor is easily able to deal with, as he's able to do increased damage because of the Burning Sun effect. Alright, now moving past his passive here, guys, let's actually talk about his single target here being Bright Rush. Inflicts retribution damage equal to 200% of attack on one enemy. Retribution is going to be ×2 critical chance increase, and damage dealt plus 1.2% for every 1% of the hero's remaining HP and diminished HP. So whenever Escanor is gaining or losing HP, either being damaged or if he just has max HP, he's going to be dealing additional 1.2% damage dealt regardless of what his HP stat is at, pretty much, which is absolutely absurd. An additional damage equal to 50% of the final damage, and it's going to be random damage when resulting in a death. So this is pretty much the original, the one Escanor's, death effect that he had, the death effect, right? So this means that when you do a single target into a character, it's going to do another 50% of the damage you just dealt as extra damage on a random character if it kills the one that you just attacked, or it's going to hit that exact character and deal that 50% of the initial hit, which is absolutely insane. And then moving on to the second skill here, guys, we got Burst Flare, and this is actually going to inflict Raging Fire damage equal to 180% of attack on all enemies, and Raging Fire is going to ignore the enemy's defense and resistance while increasing the hero's pierce rate by ×2 when using the skill. So this means that this AoE is going to be doing a ton of damage against the enemies. Now moving on to his ultimate here, guys, this is one of the first characters in the game that actually did get a ultimate passive. Now let's actually talk about this because it's a very important thing for Escanor's kit, and it also does apply to some of his skills that he has, which actually increases his usability. Alright, so starting with the ultimate here, and this is at the 4 to 6 dupe level. Ultimate Divine Lance increases all stats of the hero by 20% for 2 turns, then inflicts Hellfire damage equal to 650% of attack on all enemies. When participating in the battle, the hero incinerates the target's max HP by 60% of the damage dealt with the Raging Fire effect. And remember that the AoE skill that Escanor has is Raging Fire, so you're actually able to incinerate a certain amount of the target's max HP so that they cannot do damage based on that amount of max HP. They're going to be pretty much lowered. This is a hard counter to Gelda. And Everlasting Flame is applied to the enemies that reach maximum incineration, and in addition, the Scorching Flame is applied to all enemies for 1 turn when the hero dies. And as you guys can see here in terms of the effects, Hellfire is going to ignore 60% of the defense related stats of the enemy, so that's going to be the actual effect on the damage dealt of the ultimate. And then Incinerate is going to incinerate up to 30% of the max HP at the start of the battle, which means that enemies that do take Raging Fire are going to get their HP up to 30% completely blocked off, meaning that they can't use HP scaling for that extra 30%, and they're also just 30% lowered of their HP, meaning they only have 70% left over. And if the 30% of the max HP is 300k or higher, the maximum incineration is capped at 300,000 no matter what. And incinerated max HP can also not be healed, meaning that if you do get incinerated max HP, you're always stuck at that amount of HP or you're getting less. And an Everlasting Flame is going to be damage taken from the Raging Fire skills increased by 50%. So when you do, do the 60% damage dealt with Raging Fire, Everlasting Flame is applied to enemies that reach the maximum incineration. So when you do hit that 30% cap, you're actually applying Everlasting Flame, meaning your AoEs are going to do even more damage. And then Scorching Flame is going to be minus 40% damage dealt, and additional damage equal to 40% of the remaining HP at the end of the turn. So the remaining HP, 40% of it is instantly stripped the moment Escanor dies, which is absolutely absurd. So yeah, guys, Escanor is just a very insane character in my opinion. You can pretty much use him in anything in the game. He's a very strong character in PvP, either on humans or Sin's team. You can also run him in Demonic Beast content. He's a very strong damage dealer for the Demon King. You can pretty much run him in any content in the game. I think the only thing that you cannot run this character in at the moment is going to be the Ratatoskr Demonic Beast, but pretty much everything else this character is just absolutely insane in, and you can literally run him in any content in the game other than Ratatoskr pretty much. Alright guys, moving on to my number 2 must invest character of this list right here, we got LR New Legend Princess Elizabeth. Now, you guys know LR Elizabeth is a very absurd character, and another thing to mention too, guys, is that she's actually free right now through the free summonable banner right now in Grand Cross if you're playing during the 4 Koa celebration. Remember that you can actually get her, I think it's from this banner right here, once you do fill up the mileage, which I've already completed the full mileage, so I'm actually not able to get the extra copy, but I've already gotten the character already. So yeah, guys, LR Elizabeth is a super insane character. For you guys that don't know what she's able to do, let's talk about her skills and her passive and all that to let you guys know exactly what she's all about. Alright, so starting with her passive here, Shared Warmth. In PvE battles, allies' basic stats increases by 6% up to 30% whenever the hero heals an ally. The hero's ultimate move gauge fills up by 1 orb whenever the hero uses a skill. And if the hero uses an attack skill, buffs are removed from the enemy before the skill activates. And then in all game modes, allies' recovery rate increases by 20% whenever the hero heals an ally, and this can be limited up to 5 times, meaning you get up to 100% recovery rate increase for the entire team. Now, the reason why this passive is super strong, guys, is because in PvE content, you get free 30% basic stats, which remember, as we talked about with Valentine's DN, giving pretty much any character basic stat increase is very, very strong. Now, this does not work in PvP, but the fact that you can do this in Demonic Beast and any other PvE content in the game is very, very valuable. Now, another thing about this as well is that the hero's ultimate move gauge fills by 1 orb whenever the hero uses a skill, meaning you actually are able to ult rush a lot easier with this character versus other characters where you have to actually, either merge skills or use multiple skills to get that, fill of the ultimate move gauge. And then also she's actually buff stripping the enemy as well whenever she uses an attack skill. So when we do go over her attack skill, guys, remember that you also have built-in buff strip regardless of the rank of the skill. And then, yeah, I mean, 100% recovery rate for the entire team is always going to be good too, guys. And that's going to be your passive right there. Now, another thing about LR Elizabeth as well is that she does have a Holy Relic, and this Holy Relic effect is going to be a backline supportive effect, so active even in the sub slot, and this is actually going to increase allies' HP related stats by 15%. And remember, we talked about characters on this list already, like Gelda, like Escanor, that do, increase damage based on HP on the enemy, or, they do more damage against HP, and this is something that is very, very valuable for your team, as you can run this as a backline supportive effect. Alright, now moving on to our first skill here, guys, we have Royal Dignity. Inflicts flood damage equal to 143% of attack on all enemies and restores the HP of all allies by 30% of the damage dealt. And flood is going to be 0.8% additional damage for every percent of remaining HP on self. And again, remember, this is the attack card, so it actually does have buff strip built in. Now moving on to our second skill here, guys, we have Blessing Light. This is actually going to remove debuffs from allies and increase defense related stats by 30% for 2 turns. And at the rank 3 for this skill, you actually do grant debuff immunity as well and remove all debuffs with 100% defense related stats, which is absolutely insane. And then moving on to our ultimate here, guys, I think this is one of the most important parts of LR Liz's kit versus other characters in the game, and this is what makes her a lot better than a lot of other characters in the game, is because of this ultimate right here. So she's actually able to heal allies equal to 630% of the character's attack, and fills the ultimate move gauge by 2 orbs, and increases the attack related stats by 30% for 2 turns at the 6 out of 6 dupe level. That is a very strong effect, guys, because not only are you filling ultimate move gauge of your team, you're also providing them with attack related stats of 30% increase. Remember that when we talked about, Valentine's DN, she's actually only giving 10%. This Elizabeth is giving 30% basic stats from her passive, and then also 30% attack related stats at the 6 out of 6 dupe level. So yeah, guys, LR Liz is just a super insane character, and again, even though she is kind of centered around PvE content, she is still able to be used in PvP as a backline support of a character just because of this alone, literally this alone, and the fact that she is an LR character with really good CC that allows her to be used in the backline on PvP, and then in PvE content, she's good in everything across the entire game. The only thing that she is not good in is the Demon King battle, but that's because they actually made it so that goddesses take more increased damage on it because LR Liz was so strong, and they really limited her to pretty much only demonic beasts, and even the newest demonic beast as well with Ratatoskr. Alright, guys, so the number 1 character here that you guys need to invest in on Grand Cross is going to be Demon King Meliodas. You are Demon King Meliodas. Now, this character is absolutely insane in the game, and he is pretty much, in my opinion, across all content in the game. If we're talking PvP and PvE, this character is the best unit in the game. Let's actually talk about why this character is so good, and we'll explain it in his unique and then also with his kit. Alright, guys, so starting with his passive here, Beginning of the End, applies protection of the Demon King on self at the start of the battle, and when an applicable ally uses an attack skill, the target receives 1 Seed of the End up to a maximum of 3, and when the hero uses a skill on an enemy at max stacks, the target stances are removed and the hero gains 1 dark energy. In addition, the hero's basic stats are increased by 7% for every applicable ally participating in the battle, and when the hero's dark energy reaches 4 stacks, the hero removes all of them and gains all creation. Protection of the Demon King is going to remove 1 debuff from each ally at the start of the ally's turn, and the hero gains dark energy effects equal to the number of debuffs removed. And Seed of the End is actually going to lower enemies' defense-related stats by 10%, and then when it's actually removed at max stacks, you are going to be getting the Dark Energy from DK Meliodas. He's going to get, a 10% increase in defense-related stats pretty much. And then once you do get 4 Dark Energy, guys, they're going to convert into All Creation, and All Creation is going to increase your attack-related stats by 50%. All debuffs are going to be removed from self, and own skill ranks will increase and will be removed after using an attack skill. And the applicable allies are actually going to be Demon Race or 7 Deadly Sins characteristic. And remember, guys, in the game that we talked about, a lot of the characters on this list were either 7 Deadly Sins or Demon. We have Gelda and Escanor. Both of those characters could be run with DK Meliodas, and they will strive alongside him. They would be really, really good with him. Now, moving on to his first skill here, guys, Raging Fist. This is going to inflict extinction damage equal to 200% of attack on one enemy. Extinction is going to be ×2 critical damage and ×2 critical chance when all creation is active. So you are doing double crit damage with double crit chance on your single target when you do have that all creation effect, active at the moment. And then moving on to his second skill here, guys, we have the Doom skill. So Impulse inflicts Doom damage equal to 120% of attack on all enemies, and Doom is going to be ×2 critical chance and plus 20% damage dealt for every seed of the end on enemies. And then moving on to his ultimate here, guys, this was one of the first characters in the game to actually introduce passive related effects in the ultimate, and DK Mellies is actually very, very strong as well. So for this ultimate, this is at the 5 to 6 dupe level as well, guys. So Obliteration increases all of the hero stats by 25%, then applies 2 Seeds of the End effects and inflicts Doom damage equal to 460% of attack on all enemies. If the hero is participating in the battle, the associated hero's commandment activates, and if the hero has protection of the Demon King, their critical defense increases by 17%, and their damage taken from single target attacks will actually decrease by 12% as well. And then also the effects on this, guys, again, are going to be Doom, which is going to be ×2 critical chance and plus 20% damage dealt for every seed of the end effect on enemies. Now again, guys, as I mentioned already, this character is the best character in the game because he has so much going for him. He has rank up built in his kit. He has team-wide cleanse. He cleanses a debuff from every character on the field. He does absurd damage. He's a very, very strong damage dealer. He works in all content in the game. Ratatosker, Demon King, all demonic beast battles other than Ratatosker. You got PvP. This character is across the board the best character in the game because you can use him in anything and be successful, and that's what makes Demon King Meliodas my #1 must invest in the game and why he's such a strong character in Grand Cross. Alright, guys, so that's going to be it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below of my list, and if you guys would change any of the characters on this list, or if you recommend other characters that people should build, let me know in the comment section below. And with that out of the way, man, that's going to be it. And I'm going to see you guys on the next video, man. Peace out. Have a good rest of your day, guys. See you later, man.